Hi guys, it's Rattlesnake. Welcome back to my channel, and it's been about a week, well it has been a week since the Japanese Grand Prix, so I figured I should probably get off my butt and film my race recap because well, it's not only just been a week, but it's also been the first week of this April break, I guess that we're calling it, and I've survived. I don't know what I'm gonna do for the next 4 or maybe even 5 weeks, because they said it could be up to 6 weeks off. It's we don't know yet, but yeah, April break's going real well. But as always, I have my notebook here full of all of my notes that I took during the race, so let's go over them. First off, I missed F1. Second off, it was what a qualifying we had. I just do not know what is wrong. I don't like these new regulations. I think that's most people's opinions on them, but you know, Piastri had a really good third run. Somehow Lindblad had an incredible qualifying session, out-qualifying Max Verstappen. Somehow, that Red Bull is terrible. Yeah, obviously the Mercedes and the Ferrari is absolutely cooking, but when it came to the actual race, it was a really good start for Piastri. He got off that line super quick. I don't know what the problem was for George's car. I believe he just had a bit of wheel spin or something. And Antonelli also had a terrible start from what I will, I'll put in the start here to see if you can see what's up. But yeah, it was a really good start for them. The other thing that I noticed a lot, I didn't get to see this in the commentary, but there was transponder issues for Liam Lawson, I think. I remember last year back in Saudi Arabia, maybe Bahrain, George Russell had the same, where he kept dropping to the bottom of the timing charts and then climbing back up and then dropping to the bottom. As it turns out, he had an issue with, I think it was the transponder. And I think the same thing was happening for Liam Lawson, because he would just drop off and then come back, and it was really odd, but none of the commentators seemed to mention it, so I don't know. I mean, we're gonna move on to the big one now. The big one. Ollie Behrman's out, and I believe it was in Spoon. His crash was that was terrifying to see. They were saying, oh, you know, if there's ever a safety car because of crashes, it normally doesn't come out after the first 10 laps. Well, guess what? It's a good proof of how snappy I would say these cars are. These cars are just so reactive in a bad way. Yeah, he had to slow down a lot because of Colapinto, and then, I don't know, just lost it taking out one of the markers and then straight into the wall. And thankfully it appears he's been okay. He had a CT scan, I believe, recently, and I'm not sure about the results on that, but it seemed that he was fine. He had no broken bones, maybe just some bruised knees, because he's very, very tall. He's actually, in fact, one of the tallest drivers on the grid. But yeah, it was unbelievable, as George Russell said, in reference to his timing with the pits, because he had gone into the pits literally a lap before. He had just had his outlap as Behrman crashed, and I don't know, he had terrible luck. I feel just a touch bad for him there. It was not great. But moving on, talking about medical issues and safety cars, Burt Mylander, who is pretty well known as the safety car driver, drove his 500th race as a safety car driver, which is pretty insane. Most drivers never get 500 starts, so that's awesome. Good for him. He's pretty cool. He keeps everyone safe. Yay! Even if there's been way too many safety cars out recently. All I'm bloody saying. Yeah, the Aston Martins, like always, lap 31, Stroll retired for an issue. I saw him go into the pits and I saw him stay in the pits. I'm like, oh, he's out. That's fully out. And he was. That torture machine could not get any worse. Hopefully over the break they can fix it. I don't know if they are, but we can try. There was another, that was the other one I found out later in the race. They revealed it was 50 Gs that Ollie Behrman received upon his crash. That is an insane amount of Gs to have. It's, you know, that could be life-ending. And thank God for the safety features that they have nowadays, because back in the day, dead on impact. So it's good that he didn't have too major injuries. Like, again, I'm not sure on the brain scan stuff because I didn't see anything. But yeah, this next one, I don't actually think it's true. I had Albon retired with a question mark because he kept going into the pits and then coming out of the pits. I believe he had like 6 pit stops. I will search this up, but I believe he ended up having like 6 pit stops with that Williams, and it was just insane. But yeah, Williams have had an interesting year. They said it was this year, like this year was their year, and they were super excited about the car. The car was supposed to be like top notch, and then it's been overweight. They've not been able to run full Grand Prix. It's been a whole thing. I feel so bad for them. But yeah, we also had the Ferraris and George fighting from the back half of like the last 20 or so laps. They were just absolutely duking it out. Obviously, none of them were going to get the lead, but they were really fighting for that 3rd place. And eventually it did end up with either Charles Leclerc or Oscar Piastri. I think Oscar came 3rd. But yeah, they were fighting back and forth, and they did they had some really good defense. So shout out to those Ferraris. I hope that this year is their year. But speaking of whose year it is, Antonelli is now officially the youngest championship leader in history. That is crazy to say. That is so good for him. I'm so happy for him, and I'm really hoping he extends that lead. I mean, if I got to choose who won the championship, would it be Antonelli? No, of course it would be Verstappen. But having Antonelli win the championship out of the 2 that's fighting for it at the moment, that would be good. Just also with the whole Italian thing, he's also the first Italian to win 2 consecutive Grand Prix since 1953. Since Ascari, I believe it was. That's insane. Man, this kid's something else. This kid's gonna win a championship. I fully do believe that. I see it in him. And hopefully it's this year. It could be really sick, winning a championship at 19. Or he'll be 20 by the end of the year, I think. Would be sick. Jack Black is the flag waver. If you don't really care about the pop culture, but just letting you know, all of the Super Mario Galaxy cast were in Japan, obviously, for the launch of the movie, for the press junkets, I guess. I don't think the movie's been released, but it's out soon. Or maybe it's just been released. Don't know. But he was our flag waver, and yeah, it could have been worse. Could have been Chris Pratt. I wasn't really paying attention to how well Jack Black was doing. I was more paying attention to the actual racing, which is what the paddock should normally be about, and not what celebrities wear. Just my opinion. Yeah, no, Oscar was 2nd. It's in my notes. Yeah, Oscar came 2nd. So, as you probably would have heard on his radio if you watched the race, he said something along the lines of, you know, we do pretty well when we actually can start the race. And he did do pretty well. Which leads us to this our final thing that I mentioned at the start of the video, the April break. I didn't have as many notes as I did for China, because China was absolutely mental. So I think I had like 2 pages full of notes because of all the stuff that happened. But yep, 1 month off. I don't know what the hell I'm going to do with my time. I think I might try to go back and watch some older races if I can get my hands on them. Drop a comment about some recommendations, and I might even cover them as like a race recap to fill my time. Obviously there are some races I will not cover. I think it's 94 Imola, Senna's. Rule of thumb, won't cover any races where a driver died. I will cover drivers' lives and explain why their death may have been important in the grand scheme of the sport. Someone like Jules Bianchi, who he pushed forward a lot of safety features and it was been the last, well, 20 years now. But yeah, I'm not going to cover some of those races, but something like, you know, some of the really famous Lewis races or the Sebastian, go back further still, I'd watch some Senna stuff, some Schumacher dominance, anything that you think is like a really good one to break down some notes. Obviously, I watched all the races last year, I'm not going to bother with those, but any from the recent years as well. But yeah, leave your recommendations in the comments below and I might get to them if anybody actually watches these. But yeah, thank you for listening to me yap and my insanity over the fact that we have now break. And I will see you at the start of May. Peace.